I'm Emma, 29, and last Tuesday my family walked into my downtown Portland apartment like they owned it, my mother's Chanel perfume cutting through the air like a warning, my brother's entitled smirk daring me to challenge what they thought was inevitable. I'd built this life from nothing they'd ever acknowledged, a six-figure tech salary, a corner unit overlooking the Willamette River, and finally, the power to say no. But they weren't here to admire my success. They wanted my money, and when I refused, they didn't just get angry, they got legal. 3 days later, I held court papers in my trembling hands, my own family trying to have me declared mentally incompetent to steal everything I'd worked for. They thought they were erasing me. Instead, they'd just declared war on the wrong daughter. Have you ever had family try to manipulate you into giving them money? Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from, and hit that like button if you think family loyalty shouldn't mean financial exploitation. Don't forget to subscribe, because this story gets so much wilder. You won't believe the family secrets I uncovered that completely destroyed their case. Trust me, the revenge karma serves is absolutely delicious. Growing up in Salem, Oregon, I learned early that love in the Morrison household was transactional. My brother Jake, now 33, could set the garage on fire and be called creative. I got grounded for bringing home a B+ in advanced calculus. The favoritism wasn't subtle, it was birthday parties where Jake got 3 gifts to my 1, family photos where I was positioned slightly behind everyone else, and dinner conversations where my achievements were glossed over while Jake's mediocre efforts were celebrated like Nobel Prize wins. I started documenting everything when I was 12, the same year Mom forgot my birthday entirely, but threw Jake a surprise party 3 days later. I had a composition notebook where I wrote down every slight, every unfair punishment, every time they chose him over me. By 16, I was recording conversations on my phone, saving texts, keeping receipts of every dollar they demanded I contribute to family emergencies that somehow always benefited Jake. The pattern was established early. I was the ATM, Jake was the golden child, and questioning this dynamic made me difficult. When I got into Portland State on a full academic scholarship, Mom's response was, well, someone has to pay for Jake's community college. When I landed my first internship at a tech startup, Dad asked if I could help out with Jake's car payment. When I graduated summa cum laude and got hired at a software company making $75,000 straight out of college, their first question wasn't congratulations. It was whether I could co-sign a loan for Jake's third failed business venture. I learned to say no gradually, testing the waters. Each refusal brought guilt trips that would make a Catholic grandmother proud. Family takes care of family, Emma. Blood is thicker than water. We sacrificed so much for you. But the more I pulled back, the more I realized their version of family was just financial abuse wrapped in obligation. The breaking point should have been last Christmas when Jake, unemployed again after his revolutionary dog-walking app failed, demanded I pay his rent for 3 months while he got back on his feet. When I said no, Mom called me selfish and Dad suggested I was too successful for my own good. That's when I knew this wasn't about temporary help. This was about keeping me trapped in a system where my only value was my paycheck. I moved to Portland specifically to put distance between us, but geography couldn't protect me from their expectations. The Sunday phone calls demanding money. The guilt-laden texts about Jake's latest crisis. The family gatherings where my success was minimized while Jake's potential was endlessly discussed. I thought setting boundaries would eventually work. I was naive. They weren't going to accept my independence, they were going to try to legally steal it. The Tuesday they showed up unannounced, I should have known something was different. Mom had called 3 times that week, which was unusual, and Jake had been sending me articles about successful people's responsibility to family, his subtle way of asking for money without actually asking. When I answered my door and saw them standing there with Dad lurking behind like backup, my stomach dropped. "We need to talk," Mom said, brushing past me without invitation. Her heels clicked on my hardwood floors as she surveyed my apartment like she was appraising it. Jake immediately headed for my kitchen, opening my refrigerator like he lived there. Dad stood awkwardly by my bookshelf, avoiding eye contact. Jake's opportunity can't wait, Mom began, settling onto my couch without being invited. The investment window closes Friday. I remained standing, arms crossed. What investment? Jake emerged from my kitchen with one of my craft beers, already half finished. It's a cryptocurrency mining operation. Ground floor opportunity. I just need $50,000 to get started. The audacity took my breath away. $50,000. Are you insane? Mom's expression hardened. Don't be dramatic, Emma. You make six figures. This is what family does. I laughed, actually laughed. Family doesn't demand life-changing amounts of money for get-rich-quick schemes. Jake's face reddened. It's not a scheme. You just can't handle that I might actually succeed at something. You've failed at 4 businesses, Jake. I'm not funding number 5. Dad finally spoke, his voice weak. Emma, your brother just needs a chance. He's had chances. Multiple chances. Funded by my college fund, Mom's retirement savings, and Dad's emergency fund. I'm not next in line for this financial suicide mission. The room went silent. Mom stood slowly, her voice dropping to that dangerous whisper I remembered from childhood. We gave you everything. Sacrificed for your education, your opportunities. You owe us. I felt something shift inside me, the last thread of obligatory daughter guilt finally snapping. I owe you nothing. I earned my scholarships. I worked through college. I built my career myself. You want to claim credit for my success now that it's profitable. Jake slammed the beer bottle down. You think you're better than us. I met his eyes. I know I am. The words hung in the air like a declaration of war. Mom's face went white, then red. You'll regret this. Family is all you have, and you're throwing us away for what? Pride? I walked to the door and opened it. I'm throwing away people who only love me for my bank account. They left, but not before Mom delivered her parting shot. Don't come crying to us when you realize money can't buy happiness. I watched them drive away in Jake's newest car, a BMW he somehow afforded despite being unemployed, and felt relief wash over me. I thought it was over. I thought I'd finally drawn a line they wouldn't cross. 4 days later, the process server found me at work. My assistant knocked on my office door with an apologetic expression. There's a man here who says he needs to serve you papers. My hands shook as I read the legal documents. Petition for emergency conservatorship based on mental incapacity. My own family was trying to have me declared legally incompetent so they could control my finances. They weren't just asking for money anymore. They were trying to steal my entire life. The conservatorship papers felt like ice in my hands as I sat in my office, the Portland skyline blurring through my tears of rage. They were claiming I had severe emotional instability, poor judgment in financial matters, and inability to maintain healthy family relationships. The petition painted me as a mentally ill woman hoarding money while her loving family suffered, desperately needing legal intervention to protect me from myself. I called in sick and drove straight to my apartment, my mind racing. This wasn't just about money, this was about total control. If they succeeded, they could access my bank accounts, sell my property, make medical decisions for me. They were trying to legally erase me as an adult human being. My first call was to Marcus, my college roommate who'd become a paralegal. What's wrong? You sound like you're hyperventilating. I sent him photos of the court documents. My family is trying to have me declared incompetent. Silence then, what the actual hell? This is insane. You need a lawyer, and you need one now. He referred me to Sarah Chen, a family attorney who specialized in contested conservatorships. Her office in downtown Portland felt like a war room, law books lining every wall, case files stacked with military precision. Sarah, mid-40s with sharp eyes and sharper suits, listened to my story without interrupting. "This is malicious," she said finally, reviewing the petition. "Emergency conservatorships are for people in comas or severe dementia, not successful professionals who refuse to fund their siblings' business ventures. Do you have any evidence of their financial manipulation?" I pulled out my phone. "I've been documenting everything for years." Sarah's eyebrows rose as I showed her my files, voice recordings of guilt trips, screenshots of demanding texts, bank statements showing the thousands I'd already given them over the years. "This is extraordinary," she said. "Most people don't have this level of documentation. It's like you knew this day would come." "I did know," I admitted. "Not this specifically, but I knew they'd escalate. They always do when they don't get their way." Sarah nodded grimly. "We are going to file a response denying their claims and requesting a full hearing. But Emma, I need you to understand, even frivolous conservatorship petitions can be granted if the judge doesn't have complete information. We need to be thorough." She handed me a list: medical records proving my mental health, employment verification, financial statements, character references. "We are building a fortress around your competency. They want to paint you as unstable. We'll show the court exactly how stable you are." Over the next 3 days, I became a detective investigating my own life. I collected performance reviews from every job I'd ever held, academic transcripts, medical records from my doctor confirming I'd never been treated for mental illness. I asked my supervisor for a character reference letter, my neighbor who'd watched me responsibly manage my life for 2 years, my financial advisor, who could attest to my sound investment decisions. But documentation wasn't enough. I needed allies, people who'd witnessed my family's manipulation firsthand. The first person I thought of was Derek, Jake's ex-roommate, who'd lived with him during the disastrous food truck venture. Derek had seen the family dynamics up close, watched my parents enable Jake's irresponsibility while demanding I subsidize it. I found Derek working at a coffee shop in the Pearl District, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Emma, I heard about the legal stuff. That's absolutely nuts." We sat in a corner booth, and I explained the situation. Derek's expression grew darker with each detail. "I lived with Jake for 8 months," he said. "I watched your parents give him money for the food truck while he spent it on a PlayStation and weed. When the business failed, your mom called you to ask for help with his debt." I couldn't believe it. I leaned forward. "Would you testify to that?" Derek didn't hesitate. "Absolutely. What they are doing is insane." The second ally came from an unexpected source. My Aunt Lisa, Mom's younger sister, called me that Thursday night. "Emma, I heard what Victoria and James are trying to do. It's unconscionable." Aunt Lisa had always been the black sheep of the family, the one who'd called out my parents' favoritism when everyone else pretended not to see it. "They called asking if I'd support their petition," Lisa continued. "Said you were having a breakdown and refusing help. I told them I'd sooner eat glass than help them steal your life." Lisa agreed to provide a written statement about the family's history of financial manipulation and Jake's pattern of failure. As Sarah and I prepared for the hearing, I realized something profound. I wasn't just fighting for my money or my legal autonomy. I was fighting for my right to exist as an independent person, free from my family's financial terrorism. They'd raised me to be their personal ATM, and when I refused to fulfill that role, they'd decided I was malfunctioning. The hearing was set for the following Wednesday. 7 days to prove I wasn't the unstable daughter they'd painted, but a competent adult whose only crime was saying no to family financial abuse. 7 days to show the court that the real dysfunction wasn't my independence. It was their desperate need to control it. The weekend before the hearing, I made a decision that would change everything. I was organizing my evidence files when I found something I'd forgotten about. A thumb drive labeled Jake's greatest hits, that I'd created during his last business failure. On it were recordings I'd made during family dinners where they discussed their financial strategies, including conversations I'd never fully processed at the time. I plugged in the drive and started listening. What I heard made my blood freeze. A recording from Thanksgiving 2 years ago, Jake drunk and angry about my promotion at work. Emma thinks she's so smart, but she's just a cash cow. Mom and Dad have been playing her perfectly since she was a kid. Make her feel guilty, make her feel responsible for everyone else's problems, and she pays up every time. Mom's voice came through clearly. She's always been easy to manipulate. The key is making her think it's her duty as the successful one. Dad, slurring his words, when her trust fund kicks in at 30, we won't have to work so hard for it. My hands shook as I paused the recording. Trust fund? What trust fund? I called Aunt Lisa immediately. Did Grandma Ruth leave me a trust fund? Silence, then a long sigh. Oh, Emma. You don't know, do you? She explained that my grandmother had left me a substantial trust fund when she died, nearly $800,000, that I'd gain access to on my 30th birthday, just 8 months away. Your parents have been managing it as trustees, but they were supposed to tell you about it years ago. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. The conservatorship wasn't just about controlling my current income, it was about stealing my inheritance. If they could have me declared incompetent, they could maintain control of the trust indefinitely, using it to fund Jake's lifestyle and their retirement. I scheduled an emergency meeting with Sarah that Sunday. Her office was empty except for us, the city quiet outside her windows. I played her the recordings and explained about the trust fund. Sarah's face went from professional concern to white-hot fury. This is criminal, she said. Trustee fraud, conspiracy, financial elder abuse by proxy. Emma, this isn't just a family dispute anymore, this is a federal case. She grabbed her phone. I'm calling a friend at the DA's office. They need to hear this. Monday morning brought a conference call with Assistant District Attorney Michael Torres. I played him the recordings while Sarah outlined the trust fund situation. We've been watching this type of scheme more frequently, Torres said. Family members manipulating conservatorship laws to steal inheritances. Ms. Morrison, would you be willing to cooperate with a criminal investigation? My voice was steady despite my racing heart. Absolutely. Torres explained they'd need me to wear a wire, try to get my parents to admit their plan on record. It's risky, he warned. If they suspect you recording, it could escalate the situation. I thought about that 17-year-old girl giving up her prom dress money to pay for SAT prep while Jake got a new car. They've been escalating my whole life. At least now I'm fighting back. The plan was simple but terrifying. I'd call my parents and arrange a meeting, claiming I wanted to work things out before the hearing. The wire would be hidden under my clothes, recording everything. Sarah would be nearby with police backup in case things went wrong. Tuesday evening, I sat in my car outside my parents' Salem house, the same modest ranch where I'd learned to make myself small. The wire felt cold against my skin, a reminder that I was about to potentially send my own family to prison. My hands were shaking as I rang the doorbell. Mom answered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Emma? I'm so glad you came to your senses. Dad emerged from the living room, relief evident on his face. Jake was there too, sprawled on the couch with a beer like he still lived there. I've been thinking about what you said, I began, settling into the chair I'd occupied for countless guilt trips over the years. About family taking care of family. Mom nodded eagerly. We just want what's best for you, sweetheart. This conservatorship will protect you from making impulsive decisions. I forced concern into my voice. But what about my trust fund? Grandma Ruth's money. The room went silent. Dad and Mom exchanged a look that confirmed everything. What trust fund? Jake asked, sitting up straighter. Mom's voice was carefully casual. That's exactly why you need our guidance, Emma. You're not ready for that kind of responsibility. But I turn 30 in 8 months. It becomes mine then, right? Dad cleared his throat. Well, if you're under conservatorship, we'd continue managing it for your benefit. Jake's eyes lit up with greed. How much money are we talking about? Mom shot him a warning look, but it was too late. Enough to secure everyone's future, she said. Enough to fund Jake's business ventures properly, help Dad retire, ensure we are all taken care of. I felt the wire recording every damning word. So the conservatorship isn't really about protecting me. It's about controlling Grandma's money. Dad's face flushed. Don't be ridiculous, Emma. We're your family. What's good for the family is good for you. Jake, emboldened by beer and greed, leaned forward. Look, Em, you've always been weird about money. This way, you don't have to worry about it. We'll handle everything. Like you handled your 4 failed businesses. His face darkened. Those weren't failures. They were learning experiences. Mom intervened before the conversation could derail. The point is, darling, you don't understand family legacy. This money isn't just yours, it's meant to help all of us. I stood slowly, my heart pounding. So you're admitting the conservatorship is about stealing my inheritance? The mask slipped completely. Dad's voice turned cold. It's not stealing. It's family resource management. You've proven you can't think beyond yourself. And if I fight this? Mom's smile was ice. Then you'll lose everything anyway, and we'll make sure everyone knows how unstable you've become. I had everything I needed. Their plan, their motivations, their threats, all recorded. I headed for the door, their voices rising behind me in panic as they realized what had just happened. This conversation isn't over, Emma. Mom called. I turned back with a smile that matched hers for coldness. Yes, it is. Wednesday morning, the Multnomah County Courthouse felt like a battlefield dressed in marble and mahogany. I sat beside Sarah at the respondent's table, my evidence files stacked like ammunition, while my parents and Jake occupied the petitioner's side with their lawyer, a slick-looking man named Richard Blackwood who specialized in complex family matters. Judge Margaret Hoffman, a stern woman in her 60s with silver hair and no-nonsense glasses, called the hearing to order. This is a petition for emergency conservatorship filed by James and Victoria Morrison regarding their daughter, Emma Morrison. Mr. Blackwood, present your case. Blackwood stood with practiced authority. Your Honor, the petitioners seek conservatorship out of genuine concern for Emma's deteriorating mental state. She's exhibited paranoid behavior, severed family relationships without cause, and made increasingly irrational financial decisions that suggest she lacks the capacity for self-care. He painted a picture of a troubled young woman spiraling into isolation, hoarding money while her loving family watched helplessly. Jake took the stand first, clean-shaven and wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's rent. Emma's always been emotional, he testified, his voice heavy with fake concern. But lately, she's been accusing us of trying to steal from her, cutting off all contact, refusing to help when we are struggling. She spent $2,000 on a chair last month, while knowing I couldn't make rent. Sarah rose for cross-examination, her voice sharp as a scalpel. Mr. Morrison, how many businesses have you started in the past 5 years? Jake shifted uncomfortably. That's not relevant. Answer the question. 4. But, and how much money has your family, including Emma, invested in these ventures? I don't see how, Judge Hoffman intervened. Answer the question, Mr. Morrison. Maybe 50,000 total, but family investments are different. Different how? Sarah pressed. Did you pay any of it back? Jake's jaw tightened. Business doesn't work that way. Sometimes you have to take risks. With other people's money. It's family money. Sarah smiled coldly. I see. And what's your current employment status? I'm between opportunities. For how long? 6 months, but I have prospects. Mom took the stand next, dressed like she was going to church, her performance Oscar-worthy. Emma was such a loving child, she began, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. But success changed her. She became cold, calculating. When Jake needed help, she turned her back on family. Sarah's cross-examination was surgical. Mrs. Morrison, did you inform Emma about her grandmother's trust fund? Mom's composure cracked slightly. She wasn't ready for that information. That's not what I asked. Did you inform her? We were waiting for the right time. She turns 30 in 8 months, when the trust becomes accessible. When exactly would have been the right time? Young people today don't understand financial responsibility. Is that your decision to make? As her parents, we have a duty to manage a trust fund she doesn't know exists. The courtroom was silent except for the court reporters clicking keys. Dad took the stand looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. His testimony was weak, filled with vague concerns about my attitude and disrespect for family values. Under Sarah's questioning, he admitted they'd never sought professional evaluation of my mental health, never documented any concerning behaviors, never attempted family counseling. Mr. Morrison, Sarah asked, what specific actions has Emma taken that demonstrate incompetence? Dad fumbled. She won't help family when we need it. Is refusing to give money to family members evidence of mental illness? She's selfish. Is selfishness a medical condition? She's not the daughter we raised. That's not what I asked. When it was my turn to testify, I felt strangely calm. I walked to the witness stand with my head high, looking directly at my parents as I was sworn in. Your Honor, I began, I'd like to start by playing a recording from last night. The courtroom fell silent as my family's voices filled the air, their scheme laid bare for everyone to hear. Mom's face went white. Dad stared at his hands. Jake looked like he might throw up. They are not trying to protect me, I continued after the recording ended. They are trying to steal my inheritance. This conservatorship is their attempt to maintain control over a trust fund they never told me existed. I testified about the years of financial manipulation, the guilt trips, the constant demands for money to fund Jake's failures. I presented evidence of my mental health evaluations, my stellar work performance, my responsible financial management. Sarah called character witnesses, Derek, who testified about Jake's spending habits, and my parents' enabling, my supervisor, who spoke about my professional competence, my doctor, who confirmed I'd never shown signs of mental illness. The final blow came when ADA Torres entered the courtroom with federal agents. Your Honor, based on evidence presented today, we are filing criminal charges against the petitioners for trustee fraud, conspiracy, and attempted financial exploitation. The agents approached the petitioner's table with handcuffs. Mom's careful composure shattered completely as she was read her rights. Dad looked confused and broken. Jake tried to run, but was caught before he reached the door. Judge Hoffman's voice cut through the chaos. Petition for conservatorship denied. Ms. Morrison, I apologize that the court's time was wasted on what appears to be an elaborate criminal scheme. As my parents were led away in handcuffs, I felt something I'd never experienced before, the sweet, clean air of complete freedom. The weeks following the hearing passed in a blur of legal proceedings, media attention, and phone calls from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. The story of my family's attempted inheritance theft made local news, then went viral on social media when someone posted the courtroom recording. Family tries to steal daughter's trust fund through fake mental health claims became one of those stories that everyone shared with outrage and disbelief. The federal investigation moved quickly. Mom, Dad, and Jake were all charged with multiple felonies. The evidence was overwhelming, not just my recordings, but financial records showing how they'd already been dipping into the trust fund to cover Jake's debts and their lifestyle expenses. They'd stolen nearly $200,000 over the past 3 years, money that was legally mine, but held in trust. Sarah helped me navigate the recovery process, working with federal prosecutors to freeze my parents' assets and ensure the remaining trust money was transferred to my control. When the bank statements arrived showing my actual inheritance, $623,000 after their theft, I sat in my apartment staring at the numbers, feeling not joy, but a deep sadness for the family relationships that money had poisoned beyond repair. The house in Salem went up for sale to pay restitution. Jake, facing 5 to 10 years in federal prison, tried to cut a deal by providing evidence of other financial schemes my parents had run on elderly relatives. Dad, broken and facing retirement in prison, aged a decade in a month. Mom hired the most expensive lawyer she could find with the last of their liquid assets, maintaining her innocence even as the evidence mounted against her. Through it all, I discovered I wasn't as alone as I'd thought. Aunt Lisa became a constant source of support, revealing that my grandmother had specifically chosen her as backup trustee because she didn't trust my parents with money. Ruth knew Victoria had expensive tastes and poor judgment, Lisa explained over coffee one Tuesday morning. She put protections in place, but she never imagined they'd try something this elaborate. Derek's testimony had been crucial in the criminal case, and we'd grown closer through the process. Having someone who'd witnessed my family's dysfunction firsthand was therapeutic in ways I hadn't expected. "You know what's crazy?" he said one evening as we walked along the Willamette River. "They actually convinced themselves they were helping you. That's the scariest part." I'd started therapy with Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a specialist in family trauma and financial abuse. "What you experienced wasn't just financial manipulation," she explained during one of our sessions. "It was systematic emotional conditioning designed to make you believe your worth was tied to your usefulness. Breaking free from that programming takes time." The sessions helped me understand that my compulsive need to document everything, my hypervigilance around family interactions, my difficulty trusting people's motives, these weren't character flaws, but survival mechanisms I'd developed to protect myself from people who claimed to love me while systematically exploiting me. 6 months after the hearing, I made a decision that surprised everyone, including myself. I used part of my inheritance to start a non-profit organization called Trust Your Truth, designed to help young adults escape financial abuse from family members. We provided legal resources, counseling services, and emergency financial assistance for people trying to break free from exploitative family dynamics. The irony wasn't lost on me, using money my family had tried to steal to help other people escape similar situations. Our first client was a 24-year-old woman whose parents had been forging her signature on credit applications since she turned 18. Our second was a man whose siblings were threatening to contest their father's will unless he shared his inheritance equally among them. "You're creating the support system you needed," Dr. Martinez observed during one of our sessions. "Turning your trauma into purpose." She was right. Every person we helped felt like a small victory against the family members who'd taught me that love was conditional on financial compliance. The day my parents' criminal trial began, I chose not to attend. Instead, I was at the Trust Your Truth office, training volunteers and reviewing applications for our emergency assistance fund. Sarah called with updates, guilty verdicts on all major charges, Prison sentences ranging from 3 to 8 years, lifetime bans from serving as trustees or financial guardians. That evening, I stood on my apartment balcony overlooking the city lights, thinking about the girl who'd given up her prom dress money to pay for SAT prep. She'd survived by making herself small, by believing she owed everyone else her success. The woman I'd become understood that the best revenge wasn't hurting the people who'd hurt me, it was building something beautiful from the ashes of their betrayal. My phone rang. Aunt Lisa's name appeared on the screen. "Emma, I thought you should know," Victoria called from prison. "She wants to write you a letter." I considered this for a long moment. "What did you tell her?" "That you're living your best life, and she missed her chance to be part of it." I smiled, looking out at the Portland skyline that had become my sanctuary. Tomorrow I had a board meeting for the nonprofit, a dinner date with Derek, and a therapy session to continue processing the complex grief of losing family members who were still alive, but would never again be part of my story. The trust fund my grandmother left me wasn't just money, it was freedom. Freedom from obligation to people who'd never truly loved me, freedom to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency, freedom to use my resources to help other people escape the same traps that had nearly destroyed me. 2 years have passed since that terrifying Tuesday, when my family walked into my apartment demanding $50,000 for Jake's latest scheme. As I write this, I'm sitting in my new house in the Portland Hills, a beautiful craftsman with a garden where I grow vegetables and a home office where I run Trust Your Truth. The organization now has 12 employees and has helped over 300 people escape financial family abuse. Jake was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison and still has 4 years left. He's written me letters from prison, ranging from apologies to angry rants about how I had destroyed the family. I don't respond. Some bridges need to stay burned. Dad got 3 years and was released last month, a broken man who now lives in a studio apartment in Bend, Oregon. He sends birthday cards I don't open. Mom received the harshest sentence, 8 years for her leadership role in the conspiracy. She'll be eligible for parole in 2026. Aunt Lisa visits her sometimes and reports that she still believes she was protecting me from myself. Some people can't be reached, even by consequences. The most unexpected development came 18 months ago, when I received a call from my grandmother's lawyer. Apparently, Ruth had left detailed instructions in a sealed letter, only to be opened if anyone challenged my trust fund or tried to exploit me financially. The letter revealed she'd been documenting my parents' financial irresponsibility for years and had specifically structured the trust to protect me from them. "Your parents always saw you as an investment," Ruth had written in her careful handwriting. "I see you as my legacy. Use this money to build something beautiful, not to fix what was always broken." She'd also left me her house in Astoria, Oregon, a Victorian cottage by the ocean that she'd kept secret from the family. I spend weekends there now, writing and healing. Derek and I are engaged, planning a small wedding next spring. He understands my need for financial independence, my wariness around family dynamics, my commitment to helping others who've survived what I survived. "You turned pain into purpose," he told me recently. "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen anyone do." Dr. Martinez and I still meet monthly, though our focus has shifted from survival to thriving. "You've broken a generational cycle," she said during our last session. "Children who grow up in your extended family won't inherit the dysfunction that hurt you." She's right. I've established college funds for my young cousins, with strict provisions that their parents can't access the money. I'm modeling healthy boundaries and financial independence for the next generation. The Trust Your Truth nonprofit has expanded beyond Oregon. We now have chapters in 12 states, staffed mostly by people who survived financial family abuse themselves. Last month, we helped a young man escape a family who'd been stealing his Social Security disability payments. 2 weeks ago, We provided legal assistance to a woman whose parents were demanding she give them her deceased husband's life insurance payout. Every person we help reinforces a truth I learned the hard way: saying no to family doesn't make you selfish. Setting boundaries doesn't make you ungrateful. Protecting your resources doesn't make you greedy. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone else's destruction. The question I get asked most often is whether I miss my family. The honest answer is complicated. I miss the idea of having a family, the fantasy of belonging somewhere unconditionally. But I don't miss walking on eggshells, calculating the cost of every conversation, or feeling guilty for my success. I don't miss being treated like an ATM with emotions. I've built a chosen family now: Derek, Aunt Lisa, my closest friends, the community of survivors I work with every day. These relationships are based on mutual respect, genuine care, and healthy boundaries. Nobody demands money from me. Nobody punishes me for saying no. Nobody tries to make me responsible for their poor choices. The inheritance my grandmother left me wasn't just financial. It was permission to value myself enough to walk away from people who couldn't see my worth beyond my bank account. The real treasure wasn't the money, but learning that I deserved better than conditional love tied to financial performance. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and self-preservation? Has someone in your family ever tried to manipulate you financially or emotionally? Share your story in the comments below. You'd be amazed how many people need to hear they are not alone in this struggle. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about family drama, setting boundaries, and finding the strength to choose yourself when it matters most. Share this video with anyone who might be struggling with toxic family dynamics. Sometimes hearing someone else's survival story is exactly what people need to start writing their own. Thank you for listening to my journey from exploitation to empowerment. Remember, the family you're born into doesn't have to define you, and saying no to financial abuse isn't betrayal, it's self-respect. Trust your truth, protect your peace, and never let anyone convince you that love should cost you your freedom. The sweetest revenge isn't hurting the people who hurt you, it's building a life so beautiful that their absence becomes a blessing. And sometimes, karma doesn't just come back around, it comes back with interest, federal charges, and a life sentence of knowing they destroyed their relationship with the one person who could have genuinely helped them, if only they'd learned to love without conditions.